Greetings from chess.com. Today is National Youth Day here, which means it's the birth anniversary of Swami Vivekananda, and today happens to be the birthday of Indian superstar Grandmaster Harika Dronavalli. Let's know more about her through this video. I'll also share a very nice game that she played at the end. So Harika was born on 12th January 1991 in Guntur. She started chess quite early and won the under 9 national championship, and then she went on to win number of medals at the Asian and the world level events. And then she won the national women's title in 2009. She became a grandmaster in 2011, so she became the second Indian woman to become a GM in 2011 after Humpy. And then she's won 3 bronze medals in Women's World Chess Championship in 2012, 15, and 17. And she was also declared as the Chess Player of the Year by Times of India in 2017. And she was also bestowed with Arjuna Award in 2007-8 and Padma Shri in 2019 for her contributions in the field of chess. And then she won this Belt and Road Women Open in 2019. She has won a lot of events. I've only listed a few here. And then she was also part of the gold medal winning team in the online chess Olympiad. And her contribution was immense. She played 7 black games in that online chess Olympiad. Many years back, I had this opportunity to do an interview with her, and in that interview, she did reveal quite a lot of things. I'm going to share her favorite books. So I did ask her about her favorite books, and she revealed these books. So Open by Andre Agassi was also mentioned by Lalit Babu, and then Short at History by Abhinav Bindra, and then Tinkles, of course. I also love Tinkles, and Chimp Paradox is a nice book. It covers psychology, and it's a good book to read. And also The Secret, which talks about the law of attraction. So these were her favorite picks. Now let's get started. Come to the chess segment of the video. So Harika played this game against Alexandra Kostyuk in the Belt and Road Open that she won, which I just mentioned. The reason I like this game is because it also features one of my favorite openings. So it's a Nimzo Indian but with Bishop D2. So this is a system which became very popular in 2018, 19 and 20. Also, we must mention that Grandmaster Sandipan Chanda has played extensively in this variation, and you must definitely check out his games if you want to learn this line. So Bishop D2 is simply not allowing black to double your pawns. So after Bishop D2, you see how the game flows. After E3, she develops her bishop to D3, and then after D5, she takes C takes D5, E takes D5, and plays Rook to C1. All are developing moves, new move, new piece, and then she castles, and after A6, she wants to build her attack and plants her knight on E5, and now F4 will follow very soon. After C5, she played A3 and bishop takes C3, bishop takes C3, C4. It's good to keep this bishop on this diagonal for future attacking possibilities. So she plays bishop b1, and after knight c6 she plays f4, and then after b5 she plays bishop e1. This is a nice move so that white intends to go bishop h4 in the future. So in this game, I really like how Grandmaster Harika Dronavalli has used all of her pieces into an attack. So Jakob Aagaard's concept to bring all the toys comes to mind. So it's a good idea to bring all your pieces into attack when you are having such an opportunity. And after knight e4, she plays queen to h5, threatening f7, and queen c7, black defends it. Now this is a moment in which she plays bishop takes e4. I think even rook f3 was interesting here, but she had a point. After bishop takes e4, d takes e4, she played bishop c3. And this pawn on d4 is very much ready to go d5 whenever the opportunity arises. So considering this, black played knight takes e5, and I think here both d takes e5 and f e5 both are possible, but it is human to play f e5 so that the rook on f1 gets more light. And after f e5, a5, take a moment to see what you would do as white. It's a very nice moment. It is moments like this that decide how well you know about the position or how acquainted you are with the basic plans. So since the f line is open, it makes sense to double your rooks. So she plays rook f4, and after bishop d5, she brings the other rook into the game with rook c f1, bat, bring all toys. And then after h6, The rook is actively participating because it's keeping an eye on f7. It could also create threats with rook g4. The queen is doing fine. The rook on f1 is helping to pile up a lot of pressure on the f line. But this bishop could be improved even further. She takes this into account, uses the Bondarsky, Makagonov-Bondarsky's principle of improving the worst place piece, and she plays bishop to e1. And then after rook a6, it's your chance to see what you would do as white. A very nice move actually. This is the best move of the game. Black could have played maybe bishop e6, but white still is having good chances. And remember that this is a middle game with opposite color bishops. That means when you have a bishop of your color, your opponent cannot combat it. So it's like you're a piece up if you are attacking well. So in this position, after rook a6, Grandmaster Harika Dronavalli found a very nice way to disrupt black's coordination. She comes up with a nice move. It is again a part of CCTP. It's a pawn break, which is e6. What this does is it's attacking the bishop, attacking f7 point. Now the thing is, in this position, 1, 2, 3 and 4 pieces can capture the pawn, and none of them work. So after e6, white is clearly winning. Let's look at what happens in each of these cases. F e6, the rook hangs. If you take rook a e6, the bishop hangs. You can see here. If this rook takes, then the bishop hangs here. So bishop takes e6 is the obvious choice. And after bishop takes e6, who is supporting the pawn on f7? The queen, the bishop and the king. So what white does is she plays pawn to d5, attacks this bishop, and this bishop has no good square to move to. If this bishop goes to, let's say, c8, there is rook takes f7. Just a funny variation I had prepared for you to show you all. Then after queen b8, there is rook g7, and then there is this force mate. Just a sample line. So after d5, her opponent played queen c5. Now the point is you can't take pawn takes bishop because queen hangs. So what will you do now? So here Harika Dronavalli plays rook takes f7. If you take bishop takes f7, then there is queen takes f7 followed by queen takes e8. And if black takes this pawn, there is nothing happening after bishop f2. White is winning. So after rook takes f7, her opponent played pawn to b4. And now she again comes up with a nice flashy move. She plays rook c7, attacking the queen and renewing the attack on the rook here. You can see that the clearing of the rook's clearance has paved way for attacking for queen to attack the rook on e8. And here if black takes queen takes c7, there is queen takes e8 followed by the bishop can be followed by d6, and then white is winning there. Also, you don't even have to take the bishop. You can just simply play rook f8 and threaten mate, and that's dangerous. So after queen b5, again a nice moment. What would you do as white? In this position, there are different ways to win, but I like how she finishes off the game with a4, attacking the queen again. You can't, the queen is overloaded. The queen cannot remain in the pin. The queen has to also protect the rook on e8. So after queen takes a4, there is d takes e6, and there is queen f7 coming, and that is how she went on to win. Opponent resigned, so she won the game. So that was a nice game, I thought. The move e6, very nice and flashy. I hope you liked this video, and I would like to take this opportunity to wish Grandmaster Harika Dronavalli a very happy birthday. I wish you a year filled with joy and happiness, and may you always be in touch with your higher self. And thank you viewers, I hope you liked the video. I'll be back with another video soon. Until then, take care, bye bye.